The morning started like any other on Kepler Station. Dr. Zixtal moved through the research lab on her four thin legs, checking the quantum readings on her instruments. Her compound eyes reflected the soft blue glow of the monitors as she worked. The tall, mantis-like scientist had spent 3 years at this remote station, studying the strange energy patterns that appeared in empty space. Across the lab, Humara stood perfectly still. The crystalline being looked like a walking piece of clear glass, but she was one of the smartest researchers in the galaxy. Light passed through her transparent body as she focused on her work. She never needed to eat or sleep, which made her perfect for long research missions like this one. Near the observation window, Kelnan was examining water samples from the station's recycling system. The amphibious scientist's green skin was always slightly damp, and she breathed through gills on the sides of her neck. She had volunteered for this mission because she wanted to help other species learn about quantum science. All 3 scientists came from different worlds, but they worked together perfectly. The Galactic Council had chosen them carefully. They were peaceful people who wanted to make the galaxy a better place through knowledge and discovery. Dr. Zixtal clicked her mandibles together, which meant she was thinking hard. The quantum readings were showing something unusual today. Energy was building up in the empty space around the station. She had never seen patterns like these before. "Humara, please look at these numbers," she said in the universal language that all council species learned. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The crystalline being moved closer. When Humara spoke, her voice was like music played on glass bells. "These readings are very strange. The energy is growing stronger every hour." Kelnan left her water samples and joined them at the main console. Her voice was soft and bubbly, like water flowing over rocks. "Should we report this to the council?" Before Dr. Zixtal could answer, alarms started screaming throughout the station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. The 3 scientists looked at each other with fear. Nothing had ever gone wrong on Kepler Station before. Commander Veltar's voice came through the speakers. The old Dolenti leader sounded scared, which was very unusual. "All personnel to emergency stations immediately. Unknown ships are approaching our position." Dr. Zixtal ran to the observation window on her long legs. What she saw made her freeze with terror. Dozens of huge, dark ships were appearing out of hyperspace. They were black as night and covered with weapon ports. These were not exploration vessels or trading ships. These were warships built for conquest and destruction. "Krex," whispered Humara. Even through her crystal body, fear was visible as tiny cracks appeared in her surface. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Krex dominion. They were destroyers who swept through star systems, enslaving or killing everything in their path. Kelnan's gills fluttered rapidly as she struggled to breathe. "What do they want with us? We are just scientists." More ships kept appearing. 10 became 20. 20 became 30. Soon, 40 massive Krex warships surrounded the small research station. Each warship was 10 times larger than Kepler Station. Their hulls were scarred from countless battles, and their weapons were already powering up. Commander Veltar's voice came through the speakers again. This time, he was trying to sound calm, but everyone could hear the fear underneath. "This is Kepler Station calling any vessels in range. We are a peaceful research facility operated by the Galactic Council. We need immediate assistance." Dr. Zixtal watched through the window as the Krex ships moved into attack formation. She had studied military history as part of her education. She knew what she was seeing. The Krex were not here to negotiate or make demands. They were here to destroy everything and everyone on the station. The communications array on the station's outer ring exploded in a ball of fire. The Krex had fired their first shot. Now no one could call for help. The scientists were trapped with 40 warships surrounding them and no way to contact the outside galaxy. In the command center, Commander Veltar was working frantically at his console. The elderly Dolenti had served in the Council's diplomatic corps for 50 years. He had negotiated peace treaties and trade agreements across the galaxy, but he had never faced anything like this. "Emergency power to communications," he ordered his small crew. Most of the people on Kepler Station were scientists, not soldiers. They had no weapons except small tools for their research work. Lieutenant Kexwa, a young Delenti officer, looked up from her console with tears in her large dark eyes. "Commander, they have destroyed our main transmitter. We can only send short-range messages now." Veltar's webbed hands shook as he activated the emergency beacon. He knew this was probably their last chance to call for help. He spoke into the microphone, hoping someone, somewhere, would hear them. "This is Kepler Station to anyone receiving this transmission. We are under attack by Krex Dominion forces. 40 warships have surrounded our facility. We are peaceful researchers with no military capability. 857 people are on this station. We have families. We have children. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. We are going to die unless someone comes for us." The message went out into space on all frequencies. It would reach nearby star systems in a few hours. Whether anyone would hear it or care was another question entirely. Back in the research lab, the three scientists huddled together as the station shook from weapon impacts. The Krex were not trying to destroy the station quickly. They were playing with it, like a cat playing with a mouse before killing it. "Why are they doing this?" asked Kelnon. "We have done nothing to hurt anyone." Dr. Zixtel had studied the Krex in her historical research. She knew the terrible truth. They do this because they enjoy causing pain. They will keep us alive as long as possible to make us suffer. Through the observation window, they could see Krex fighters launching from the warships. The small, fast attack craft began strafing the station's outer sections. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as research labs and living quarters were destroyed. Hundreds of light-years away, Lieutenant Jake Morrison was finishing his night shift at the human monitoring station near Wolf 359. The young officer was tired after 12 hours of listening to radio traffic from across the local star systems. Most nights, nothing interesting happened. Cargo ships reported their positions. Mining colonies asked for supply deliveries. Scientists shared research data. Tonight was different. Jake's equipment picked up a desperate transmission on the emergency frequency. He sat up straight in his chair as he listened to Commander Veltar's message. The fear in the alien's voice was unmistakable. Someone was about to die unless help arrived quickly. Jake had never heard of Kepler Station, but he could look up its position in the database. It was only 6 light-years away from human space. The station was operated by the Galactic Council, which meant it was full of peaceful researchers and their families. His hands moved quickly over his console as he forwarded the message to Earth Command. Admiral Lisa Kane and her staff would need to see this immediately. Jake had been trained to recognize threats to human security, but this was different. These were innocent people calling for help against an enemy that wanted to destroy them for no reason. The message would reach Earth in 20 minutes. What happened next would depend on whether humanity was willing to risk everything to save complete strangers. On Kepler Station, the attacks were getting worse. The Krex had begun boarding the outer sections of the station. The peaceful researchers could hear weapon fire and screaming coming through the corridor walls. Death was coming closer with every passing minute. Commander Veltar sent one more transmission into the darkness of space. His voice was breaking with emotion as he spoke his final words to the galaxy. "To anyone who receives this message, please remember us. We were scientists who tried to make the galaxy better through knowledge and peace. If you have the power to stop the Krex, please do not let other innocent people suffer as we have suffered." This is Commander Veltar of Kepler Station signing off. Admiral Lisa Kane was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency alert came through her personal communicator. She had been reviewing supply reports for the Earth Defense Fleet, but all of that became unimportant when she heard Commander Veltar's desperate message from Kepler Station. The Admiral set down her coffee cup and listened to the transmission 3 times. Each time, the fear in the alien commander's voice became more real to her. 857 innocent people were about to die, and they had asked the galaxy for help. Kane activated her communicator and spoke to her aide. "Get me Captain Stone, Commander Turner, and Colonel Hughes aboard the Defiance immediately. Tell them this is Priority Alpha." 20 minutes later, the senior officers were gathered in the Admiral's private conference room aboard the massive human dreadnought. The room was simple and functional, like everything humans built for military use. No decorations or comfortable furniture, just a table, chairs, and display screens showing tactical information. Captain Rick Stone studied the data about Kepler Station on his tablet. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from the Mars colonial wars. He had fought pirates and rebels for 15 years before taking command of the Defiance. His face was serious as he read about the Krex attack. 40 warships, he said quietly. We would be going in alone against 40 enemy vessels. Commander Alex Turner nodded grimly. The young tactical officer had graduated at the top of his class from the Naval Academy on Luna. His job was to find ways to win battles that seemed impossible. Right now, he was struggling to find any good options. The nearest Council fleet is 3 weeks away, Turner reported. The other alien civilizations have ships in the area, but they are all cargo vessels or science ships. None of them have weapons that could fight the Krex. Colonel Pete Hughes leaned back in his chair. The Marine commander was a big man with thick arms and a broken nose from too many fights. His job was to lead ground troops in the most dangerous missions the military could imagine. So we would be the only ones going, Hughes said. 3 ships against 40. Those are bad odds even for us. Admiral Kane looked around the table at her officers. These were good people who had volunteered to protect Earth and human colonies throughout the galaxy. But she was asking them to risk everything for aliens they had never met. The message was broadcast on all emergency frequencies, she explained. Every civilization in this part of the galaxy heard those people calling for help. Every government, every military commander, every person with a ship capable of hyperspace travel, heard them begging someone to save their lives. Captain Stone understood what the Admiral was really saying. And no one else is coming. Kane nodded. The Council's peacekeeping force is fighting a war on the other side of the galaxy. The trading companies say it is too dangerous to risk their ships. The exploration fleets say they do not have weapons powerful enough to fight the Krex. She activated the room's main display screen. It showed the location of Kepler Station and the positions of all known fleets in the area. Red markers showed Krex positions. Blue markers showed Council forces. Green markers showed human ships. The green markers were very small compared to the red ones. We are the only ones close enough to reach them in time, Kane continued. We are the only ones with ships built for fighting. We are the only ones willing to try. Commander Turner studied the tactical display carefully. His brain was already working on battle plans and attack formations. The Defiance has enough firepower to hurt them. Our destroyers can provide support and cover for evacuation shuttles. It might be possible. Might be possible to do what? Asked Colonel Hughes. Save some of the civilians or actually win the fight? Turner was quiet for a moment. Maybe both. Human ships are faster than Krex vessels. Our weapons hit harder. Our crews are trained for situations exactly like this one. Captain Stone looked at the tactical display again. He had studied Krex military doctrine during his years as a junior officer. The enemy was brutal and powerful, but they were not used to fighting people who fought back with the same level of violence. The Krex expect their enemies to surrender or run away, Stone said slowly. They have never fought humans before. They do not know what we are capable of when innocent people are in danger. Admiral Kane stood up and walked to the large window that looked out into space. She could see Earth in the distance, a blue and white ball surrounded by defense platforms and patrol ships. Somewhere out there, people were dying while their governments debated and delayed. I have been thinking about this for the past hour, she said without turning around. The Krex attacked a research station full of peaceful scientists. They are torturing innocent people for entertainment. If we do nothing, those people will die knowing that the galaxy abandoned them. She turned back to face her officers. But if we act, if we show up and fight for people we have never met, we will be making a statement about who we are as a species. Colonel Hughes smiled grimly. We will be telling the galaxy that humans protect the weak, even when it means we might die trying, added Commander Turner. Captain Stone nodded. Especially when it means we might die trying. Admiral Kane made her decision. Captain Stone, prepare the Defiance for immediate departure. Commander Turner, I want our 2 fastest destroyers ready to jump with us. Colonel Hughes, Get your Marines ready for boarding actions and civilian evacuation." The 3 officers stood up from the table. They all knew this might be a suicide mission, but none of them hesitated. They had sworn an oath to protect innocent life, and that oath did not say the innocent people had to be human. 30 minutes later, the human task force was preparing for hyperspace jump. The dreadnought Defiance was joined by 2 destroyer escorts. Captain Sam Rodriguez commanded the destroyer Lightning, while Captain Beth Franklin commanded the destroyer Thunder. Both destroyer captains had volunteered immediately when they heard about the mission. Rodriguez was a veteran pilot who had flown fighters during the Asteroid Belt campaign. Franklin was the youngest ship captain in the Earth fleet, but she had proven herself in 3 major battles against space pirates. In the Defiance's engine room, Chief Engineer Tony Walsh was running final checks on the hyperspace drive. The big man wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked. His engines would need to perform perfectly if they were going to reach Kepler Station in time to save anyone. "All systems showing green," Walsh reported over the intercom. "We are ready for jump." In the medical bay, Dr. Carol Martinez was preparing for casualties. The doctor had served in combat zones throughout human space. She knew what happened when human ships fought against overwhelming odds. She was ready to treat both human wounded and alien civilians. Throughout the ship, crew members were making final preparations. Weapons officers checked their targeting systems. Navigation specialists plotted the fastest route to Kepler Station. Communications technicians prepared equipment for talking to alien survivors. Every person on the human ships understood the situation. They were jumping into a battle they might not survive against an enemy that outnumbered them 20 to 1, to save people they had never met from a species they knew nothing about. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Stone sat in his command chair and looked at the tactical display one more time. In 6 hours, they would arrive at Kepler Station. The Kreks would probably still be there, still torturing the research staff for their own amusement. "All ships report ready for hyperspace jump," Commander Turner announced. Stone activated his communicator to speak to the entire task force. "This is Captain Stone to all vessels. In a few hours, we will arrive at a place where innocent people are being murdered by an enemy that thinks no one will stand up to them. Today they will learn that they are wrong. Today, they will meet humanity." The 3 human ships jumped into hyperspace, racing across the galaxy to answer a call for help that no one else was willing to answer. Behind them, Admiral Kane watched from her office window as the ships disappeared into the darkness. She had just committed the Earth Defense Fleet to its first major combat action against an alien military force. The decision would either save hundreds of innocent lives or start a war that humanity might not be able to win. She activated her personal communicator and sent a message to Earth Defense Command. "This is Admiral Kane. I am authorizing Operation Rescue at Kepler Station. 3 ships departing immediately. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. God help us all." The 3 human ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system and immediately saw hell. Captain Stone stood on the bridge of the Defiance and stared at the tactical display with cold anger. 40 Kreks warships surrounded the research station like sharks circling wounded prey. The station itself was barely recognizable. Huge sections had been blown apart by Kreks weapons. Fires burned in the areas that still had atmosphere. Bodies floated in space near destroyed escape pods. The Kreks had been torturing the civilians for hours, killing them slowly for entertainment. "Sir, I am picking up life signs from the central section of the station," reported Lieutenant Maya Patel from the communications console. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she worked. The young officer had never seen anything this terrible before. Commander Turner was already analyzing the enemy fleet positions. His tactical computer showed the Krek ships arranged in a perfect attack formation. They were so confident that no one would challenge them that they had not even bothered to post guards. 40 ships, Turner said quietly. "Most of them are heavy cruisers. 3 of them are dreadnoughts larger than us. They have enough firepower to destroy a planet." Colonel Hughes joined them on the bridge. The Marine commander had been checking on his troops in the landing bays. His face was grim as he watched the tactical display. "How many people are still alive over there?" Lieutenant Patel checked her sensors again. Maybe 300, sir. But the life signs are getting weaker. The Kreks are still attacking the station. Captain Stone watched the enemy ships on his main screen. The Kreks vessels were dark and ugly, covered with weapon ports and armor plating. They looked like they had been built for nothing except destruction and death. He had fought pirates and rebels before, but he had never faced an enemy that enjoyed causing suffering. Captain Rodriguez, Captain Franklin, this is Stone, he said into his communicator. You both understand the situation. We are going in against impossible odds. Any of you want to turn around and head home? The answer came back immediately from both destroyer captains. Rodriguez's voice was calm and determined. Lightning is ready to fight, sir. Franklin sounded almost eager for battle. Thunder is standing by for your orders, Captain. Stone nodded and activated the ship's internal communication system. His voice would now reach every person aboard the 3 human vessels. This is Captain Stone to all crew members. We have arrived at Kepler Station and found a massacre in progress. 40 enemy warships are murdering innocent scientists and their families. He paused to let that information sink in. Every human aboard the ships could see the tactical display showing how badly they were outnumbered. We have 2 choices. We can retreat to Earth and report what we saw here, or we can attack immediately and try to save whoever is still alive. The captain's voice became harder as he continued. I want everyone to understand what we are facing. The enemy outnumbers us 20 to 1. Their ships are powerful and their weapons are deadly. Most military commanders would call this a suicide mission. Throughout the 3 ships, human crew members listened to their captain's words. They knew he was telling them the truth about their chances of survival. They also knew that innocent people were dying while they listened to this speech. But we are not most military commanders, Stone continued. We are humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned to fight back against impossible odds. We learned that the strong must protect the weak or civilization dies. In the engine room of the Defiance, Chief Engineer Walsh made final adjustments to the power systems. His engines would need to run at maximum capacity for the entire battle. He had never pushed the ship this hard before, but today was not a normal day. Today we show the galaxy who we are, Captain Stone concluded. We are the ones who answer when innocent people call for help. We are the ones who fight when others run away. We are humanity and we do not abandon the defenseless. The communication channel closed, and the bridge became silent except for the hum of electronic equipment. Every officer waited for the captain's orders. They all knew what was coming next. All ships attack formation, Stone commanded. Maximum acceleration toward the enemy fleet. Target their command ship first. The 3 human vessels turned toward the Kreks fleet and began accelerating at speeds that would have killed most alien species. Human engineering allowed their crews to survive accelerations that crushed other races. Within minutes, they were moving faster than any Kreks ship could match. On the lead Kreks vessel, War Chief Grakoth was enjoying the destruction of Kepler Station when his tactical officer reported the approaching human ships. The massive alien looked like a cross between a lizard and a wolf, with thick armor plating covering his body and razor-sharp claws on his hands. 3 small ships, Grakoth said with amusement. His voice sounded like grinding stone. What species is stupid enough to challenge the Kreks Dominion with only 3 vessels? His tactical officer checked the ship identification systems. Unknown species, War Chief. The computer does not recognize their ship designs. They appear to be from a planet called Earth. Grakoth had conquered 17 star systems and destroyed dozens of alien fleets. He had never heard of Earth or humans before. As far as he was concerned, they were just 3 more ships to add to his list of victories. Send a message to the approaching vessels, he ordered. Tell them to surrender immediately, or we will destroy them slowly. The message was transmitted to the human fleet, but Captain Stone did not bother to answer. Instead, he gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All ships, open fire. The human fleet unleashed their weapons at maximum range. Kinetic projectiles designed to penetrate asteroid hulls slammed into Kreks armor at tremendous velocity. Missile salvos overwhelmed enemy point defense systems with their advanced targeting computers. The first exchange of fire shocked the Krex fleet. 3 Krex cruisers exploded immediately as human weapons tore through their hulls like paper. Another 2 ships suffered massive damage and began drifting out of formation. War Chief Grakoth stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 5 of his ships had been destroyed or crippled in the first 30 seconds of battle. No enemy had ever hurt his fleet that badly in such a short time. "Return fire," he roared. "Destroy those ships immediately." The Krex fleet turned their weapons on the approaching human vessels. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled space with deadly fire. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but they kept coming. The Defiance shook as enemy fire hit her armor. Sparks flew from damaged control panels on the bridge. Commander Turner reported hull breaches on 3 decks, but the ship's weapons never stopped firing. "Their weapons are more powerful than ours," Turner shouted over the noise of alarms. "But their targeting systems are slower. We can outmaneuver them if we keep moving." Captain Stone nodded and gave new orders to his helmsman. "Evasive maneuvers. Stay close to their big ships where they cannot use their heavy weapons without hitting each other." The human ships dove into the heart of the Krex formation, dodging between the massive enemy vessels like fighters dancing around capital ships. Their smaller size and superior speed made them difficult targets for the Krex gunners. Lieutenant Patel managed to establish communication with the survivors on Kepler Station. Dr. Zixtal's voice came through the speakers, weak but still alive. "Unknown ships, this is Kepler Station. Are you here to help us?" "This is Captain Stone of the Earthship Defiance. We received your distress call and came as fast as we could. We are going to get you out of there." The alien scientist's voice was filled with amazement. "You came. You actually came for us." Throughout the Krex fleet, alien commanders were reporting impossible things to War Chief Grakoth. The human ships were taking damage that should have destroyed them, but they kept fighting. Their crews seemed to ignore wounds and equipment, failures that would stop other species. "What kind of beings are these humans?" demanded one of his ship captains. "They fight like they do not care if they die." Grakoth watched another of his cruisers explode under human fire. These 3 small ships had already destroyed 8 of his vessels and damaged 12 more. His fleet was supposed to be invincible, but somehow these unknown aliens were winning. For the first time in his military career, War Chief Grakoth began to feel something he had never experienced before: fear. The battle had been raging for 2 hours, and the human ships were starting to show serious damage. The Defiance had hull breaches on 6 decks, and her main gun turret was barely working. Captain Stone's uniform was torn and blood ran down his face from a head wound, but he never left his command chair. "Engineering report," he called out over the noise of alarms and explosions. Chief Engineer Walsh's voice came through the communication system. His words were interrupted by the sound of metal tearing and sparks flying. "Main engines at 60% power, Captain. I can give you more speed, but the hull might not hold together much longer." Commander Turner wiped blood from a cut on his arm as he studied the tactical display. The human fleet had destroyed 15 Krex ships, but they were still outnumbered 2 to 1. Worse, the enemy was starting to adapt to human fighting tactics. "The Krex are learning," Turner reported, grimly. "They are staying farther apart so we cannot use their own ships as cover. They are focusing their fire on one target at a time instead of spreading it around." Lieutenant Patel looked up from her communications console with tears in her eyes. "Captain, I'm getting reports from the station. The Krex have started executing the civilians. They are killing 10 people every hour until we surrender or retreat." Captain Stone's jaw tightened with anger. The enemy was using innocent lives as weapons against him. Every minute the battle continued, more scientists and their families would die. But if he surrendered, all of them would die anyway. "Colonel Hughes," Stone said into his communicator, "are your Marines ready for boarding operations?" The Marine commander's voice was steady despite the explosions happening around him. "My boys are locked and loaded, Captain. Just point us at the enemy." Stone made a decision that would be studied in military academies for generations. Instead of continuing the long-range battle, he would take the fight directly to the enemy command ship. It was the most dangerous plan possible, but it might be their only chance to save the civilians. "Hughes, prepare your teams for assault. On the Krex flagship, Turner, I want every weapon we have focused on creating a path through their fleet. We are going to ram through their formation and put Marines on their command ship. Throughout the human ships, crew members prepared for what they knew might be their final battle. In the medical bay of the Defiance, Dr. Martinez was operating on wounded sailors while the ship shook from enemy fire. She had run out of proper medical supplies an hour ago and was using emergency field kits to save lives. "Doctor, we need you on the bridge," came a voice over the intercom. "The captain has been wounded." Martinez looked at the 3 injured crew members on her operating tables. They all needed immediate surgery, but the captain needed her too. She made the terrible choice that all combat medics faced. "Keep pressure on their wounds. I will be back as soon as possible." On the bridge, Captain Stone was trying to hide how badly he had been hurt. Shrapnel from an exploding console had torn through his left shoulder, and he was losing blood quickly, but he could not leave his post while his crew was depending on him. Dr. Martinez arrived and immediately began treating his wound. "Captain, you need to go to the medical bay. This injury is serious." "Not until my people are safe," Stone replied through gritted teeth. "How long can you keep me conscious?" The doctor injected him with pain medicine and emergency stimulants. "Maybe 2 hours. After that, you will collapse whether you want to or not." Meanwhile, Captain Rodriguez was fighting his own desperate battle aboard the destroyer Lightning. His ship had been trying to clear a path to Kepler Station for evacuation shuttles, but 3 Krex cruisers were blocking the way. "All weapons, focus fire on the center ship," Rodriguez ordered. His bridge crew was down to half strength after a direct hit had killed 4 officers. The survivors were doing the jobs of 2 people each. The Lightning's missiles slammed into the Krex cruiser's hull, but the enemy ship's armor was too thick. The alien vessel turned its main guns on the small human destroyer and fired at point-blank range. Rodriguez saw the energy beam coming toward his ship and knew there was no time to dodge. "Brace for impact," he shouted. The Krex weapon hit the Lightning directly in the engine section. Explosions tore through the ship's hull as her power systems overloaded. Emergency lights flickered on as the main power failed. "Engineering is gone, sir," reported his tactical officer. "We have lost main engines and weapons. Life support is failing." Rodriguez looked at his tactical display and saw that 2 evacuation shuttles were trying to reach Kepler Station. If his ship died now, those shuttles would be destroyed by the Krex cruisers. He could not let that happen. "All hands abandon ship," he ordered. "Get to the escape pods immediately." But Rodriguez did not follow his own order. Instead, he stayed at his command station and activated the ship's emergency thruster system. The Lightning began accelerating toward the nearest Krex cruiser on a collision course. "This is Captain Rodriguez to all human ships," he said into his communicator. His voice was calm, even though he knew he was about to die. "Lightning is making a kamikaze run to clear the path for evacuation. Tell my wife I love her." The damaged destroyer slammed into the Krex cruiser at tremendous speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. The sacrifice created a gap in the enemy formation that allowed 2 evacuation shuttles to reach Kepler Station. On the Thunder, Captain Franklin watched her fellow captain die and felt rage burn in her chest. Beth Franklin was the youngest ship commander in the Earth fleet, but she had already proven herself in 3 major battles. Today, she would prove herself again. "All weapons, target the Krex flagship," she ordered. "Full missile salvo, I want, to give Colonel Hughes a clear path for his boarding assault." The Thunder's missiles streaked toward War Chief Grakoth's command ship. The Krex vessel's point defense system shot down most of them, but enough got through to damage the enemy ship's shields. Colonel Hughes was already in his assault shuttle with 40 of his best Marines. These were soldiers who had fought in the worst battles humanity had ever seen. They had volunteered for a mission that was almost certainly suicide. "Listen up, Marines," Hughes said to his troops as their shuttle approached the Krex flagship. "We are going to board an enemy ship that is 10 times larger than our own vessel. We are going to fight aliens who are bigger and stronger than us. We are probably going to die." The Marines checked their weapons and equipment one final time. They had trained for boarding operations, but never against an enemy like the Krex. Everything they knew about the aliens told them this would be a close-quarters battle, with no mercy given or expected. "But before we die," Hughes continued, We are going to rescue every civilian we can find. We are going to make the enemy pay for every innocent life they took. We are going to show them what happens when they threaten people under human protection. The assault shuttle punched through the damaged shields of the Krex flagship and slammed into the enemy ship's hull. Shaped charges blew a hole in the alien armor plating, and the Marines poured through into the enemy corridors. The inside of the Krex ship was like a nightmare. The corridors were dark and filled with the smell of death. Alien warriors twice the size of humans came at the Marines with claws and energy weapons. Hughes led his troops deeper into the ship, fighting room by room toward the command center. Behind them, human evacuation teams were working frantically to rescue the surviving scientists from Kepler Station. Dr. Zixtal was helping to carry wounded civilians to the human shuttles when she saw something that amazed her. Human soldiers were fighting impossible odds to save people they had never met. Some of them were badly wounded, but they never stopped fighting. "Why?" she asked one of the human medics, who was treating her injured colleague. "Why are your people dying for us?" The human medic looked up from his work. He was young, maybe 20 years old, and his uniform was covered with blood from treating alien wounded. "Because it is the right thing to do," he said simply. That answer would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come. Colonel Hughes and his Marines fought their way through the Krex flagship like demons unleashed from hell. The alien corridors echoed with the sound of human weapons and the screams of dying Krex warriors. Hughes had lost 12 of his 40 Marines, but the survivors kept pushing forward toward the enemy command center. The Krex had never faced soldiers like these humans. Most species surrendered when they took heavy casualties. These aliens seemed to get more dangerous as more of them died. Each fallen Marine was replaced by 2 comrades who fought with twice the fury. "Command center is 50 meters ahead," reported Sergeant Danny Cole, the squad's demolitions expert. His left arm was broken and bleeding, but he carried his explosives with his good hand. "I can blow the door, but it will take all my charges." Hughes nodded grimly. "Do it. We end this here." The shaped charges tore through the armored door like it was made of paper. Hughes and his remaining Marines poured into the Krex command center, firing at everything that moved. War Chief Grakoth stood in the center of the room, a massive creature covered in natural armor and holding weapons in both clawed hands. The alien commander was 8 feet tall and built like a tank. He had survived hundreds of battles and conquered entire star systems. But when he looked at the human Marines, he saw something that made his warrior heart freeze with fear. These humans were wounded and outnumbered, but they showed no fear at all. They looked at him like he was already dead. They had come across the galaxy to fight impossible odds for people they had never met. Nothing in his experience had prepared him for enemies like this. "You dare to board my ship?" Grakoth roared, in the universal language. "I am War Chief of the Krex Dominion. I have destroyed 100 worlds." Colonel Hughes walked toward the alien commander with his rifle ready. His face was covered with blood, and his uniform was torn, but his voice was steady and cold. "We are humans from Earth. We heard innocent people calling for help. That makes you our enemy." The 2 warriors faced each other in the center of the command deck while the battle raged around them. Grakoth was bigger and stronger, with natural weapons that could tear a human in half. Hughes was smaller and wounded, but he carried the fury of his entire species. They fired at the same time. Grakoth's energy weapon missed by inches as Hughes dove aside. The human colonel's rifle bullets punched through the alien's armor and sent him crashing to the floor. The war chief, who had conquered 17 star systems, died looking up at a human who had traveled across space to protect strangers. Meanwhile, the evacuation of Kepler Station was almost complete. Human shuttles had rescued 637 alien civilians from the destroyed research facility. The survivors included Dr. Zixtal, Humara, and Kelnon, who had watched human soldiers die to save their lives. Captain Stone stood on the bridge of the Defiance and received the final reports from his crews. The medicine Dr. Martinez had given him was wearing off and he could barely stand. But he stayed at his post until every civilian was safe. "All evacuation shuttles are clear of the station," reported Lieutenant Patel. 637 survivors aboard our ships. "What about our casualties?" Stone asked quietly. Commander Turner checked his reports with a heavy heart. Captain Rodriguez and the entire crew of the Lightning. Colonel Hughes and 28 Marines on the Krex flagship. 43 crew members from various battle damage. Total human losses, 118 killed, 67 wounded. Stone closed his eyes for a moment. 118 good people had died today to save aliens they had never met. Their families would never see them again. Their children would grow up without fathers and mothers. The price of heroism was always paid in blood. But 637 innocent beings were alive because of that sacrifice. Families that would have been murdered by the Krex were now safe aboard human ships. The price had been terrible, but it had been worth paying. Captain, Turner said, urgently, the remaining Krex ships are regrouping. 22 vessels still operational. They are preparing for another attack. Stone looked at the tactical display. His own ship was barely holding together. The Thunder was damaged but still fighting. They had no chance against 22 enemy warships in their current condition. All remaining crew to escape pods, he ordered. We cannot win this fight. But even as he gave the order, Stone knew he would not follow it. Someone had to stay behind to make sure the evacuation shuttles escaped safely. Someone had to hold the line long enough for the civilians to reach human space. Captain Franklin's voice came through the communication system. Defiance, this is Thunder. We will stay with you. We do not abandon our people. Stone smiled despite the pain from his wounds. These were the people he was proud to serve with. Humans who would rather die fighting than run away and leave others in danger. Franklin, get your people to safety, that is an order. Sorry, Captain, communications are breaking up, I cannot hear you clearly. Stone knew she was lying, but he also knew there was no point in arguing. Franklin would stay and fight no matter what he said. That was the kind of person she was. The two remaining human ships turned to face the Krex fleet one final time. They were outnumbered 11-1, with damaged weapons and failing life support systems. Any military computer would calculate their chances of survival as 0. But computers did not understand the human spirit. They did not know that sometimes the strong must protect the weak, even when it means certain death. This is Captain Stone. To all Krex vessels, he broadcast on all frequencies. You have attacked innocent people under human protection. You have murdered civilians who never did you any harm. For those crimes, we find you guilty. War Chief Grakoth was dead, but his second-in-command, Sub-Chief Vextar, was now in charge of the Krex fleet. The alien commander listened to the human message with confusion and growing fear. You are outnumbered and outgunned, Vextar replied. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Stone's answer echoed across the galaxy on every emergency frequency. Alien civilizations throughout local space heard his words and would remember them forever. We are humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned that the strong protect the weak, or civilization dies. We do not surrender. We do not retreat. We fight until the end. The final battle began, with the two human ships charging directly into the center of the Krex formation. They had no hope of victory, but they fought anyway. They fought because innocent lives depended on them. They fought because it was the right thing to do. Captain, Franklin's destroyer Thunder exploded under concentrated fire from 6 Krex ships. Her final message was broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Beth Franklin of Earth. We came for you. We died for you. Remember us. The defiance lasted longer, her heavier armor absorbing tremendous punishment. Captain Stone stayed at his command post even as fires raged throughout his ship and hull breaches vented atmosphere into space. In the end, he made the same choice his fellow captains had made. Rather than let his damaged ship be captured or destroyed slowly, he rammed the Defiance directly into the largest Krex dreadnought at maximum speed. Both ships exploded in a fireball that could be seen from 3 star systems away. The explosion destroyed 4 more Krex vessels and sent the remaining enemy fleet fleeing in terror and confusion. The evacuation shuttles carrying the rescued civilians jumped into hyperspace just as the final battle ended. They carried the survivors to safety and the story of what they had witnessed to the galaxy beyond. Dr. Zixtal spent the journey to human space writing a detailed report of everything she had seen. When her message was broadcast throughout the Galactic Council, it changed how every alien civilization viewed humanity forever. When we called for help, they came, she wrote. When we faced extinction, they fought for us. When we had lost all hope, they gave their lives so that we might live. They are called humans, and they are the guardians the galaxy has been waiting for. The phrase spread from world to world, species to species. When the innocent called for help, the Deathworlders came. On Earth, Admiral Kane received the final casualty reports with a heavy heart. 3 ships sent, 1 returned. 118 crew members lost, but 637 alien lives saved. The mathematics of heroism were always written in blood and sacrifice. But the galaxy had learned something important that day. Somewhere in the darkness of space, there was a species that would answer when innocents cried for help. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they stood ready to prove that sometimes the strong do protect the weak.